Alright, so you might be thinking, okay, I've got a great floor plan, but what if I want to actually start adding objects? How do I do that? This is not going to cover all the different modeling techniques you might need, but I'll get you started. And we'll start with the bedroom. It has some fun objects and some fun techniques which you can probably use and extend to other parts of your scene and even other projects. So let's get started with making something similar to what we have that we saw in the example. All right. So I'm going to open up that project again where we are not having our bedroom fully made yet. And we're going to start with the cabinet space on the right hand side. So I'm going to turn back on all my um, outlines, and I'm also going to switch back to basic modeling mode just to get rid of any colors that might distract us. Then, to make most objects, you start by adding a default shape. So I'm going to add a cube, and I'm going to do that for most of the things. Now, for this, I'm going to turn snapping off. You can have snapping on or off, but I find that I like the flexibility of having it off for this kind of furniture building. Then, what we're going to do is I'm going to lift it so it's just above the ground by going grab and then pressing Z. Then, I'm going to make sure that I stretch it to the size that I want. So I'm going to say it's about this size, and I'm going to press E to extrude it upwards to about this height. Now, I'm also going to turn X-ray mode on, and I'm going to switch to edge select mode. That's where I'm going to be able to add and remove edges. First, I'm going to press Alt and left click, and that selects this edge loop. And then I'm going to press G, Z to bring it down. That's going to be the bottom of my furniture piece. That's where the first cabinet drawer comes. Then I'm going to press B, and then I'm going to select all these edges. I right click and choose subdivide. What that does is it creates another edge loop. And I'm going to press Alt, and then I can press G, Z to bring that down. I'm going to do the same step again, B, and then subdivide, and then it's going to create a gap. So now I have multiple edge loops with a gap in the middle. Then I'm going to press B and select this way, subdivide, but this time I'm going to choose an option down here to choose how many cuts I want. I'm going to have 3 cuts, or 2 cuts, 3 sections. Okay? Then I'm going to subdivide each section one more time to move these into, or actually not each section, just the 2 sections on the left and right, to move these over. And I'm not going to be as precise as if I really wanted to make this super detailed. I'm just trying to get the gist of it, so I'm not worried too much about the precision. So now, I didn't do anything, but if you look at the object, it doesn't look like anything's changed. But what has changed is the geometry. So in here, I can go to Face Select. I can select these faces, and I can press E to extrude them out. And what that does is it allows me to have a little bit of a extruded section to my piece. And then I can also right click. I should, if I go to edges maybe. There we go. I have to be in edge select mode instead of face select mode. And then I right click and I can choose bevel edges. And what that's going to do is it allows me to add a little bit of a bevel to the edges. Not too much. You're going to be so careful with this. I'm going to zoom in so you can kind of see what's happening. I right click, bevel edges, and I move my mouse just ever so gently. If I hold shift, it's a bit more precise. And that's creating a little bevel here. What that does is now, oh, look at that. It really catches the light a bit better. This is even better than the example that I made because it has those bevels. So now I have the gist of a decent furniture piece. And I'm not going to worry about materials yet. I'm just going to stick to the model. And if you wanted to get into the brass tacks, you could add little fittings. You just add another object. You just go in here, you're like, okay, I want like a little pull handle. So I just go Shift A, mesh. Maybe I choose cylinder. I rotate this on the y-axis 90 degrees. I scale it down. And then there you go. There's a little puller, like a drawer pull. And then I can just duplicate that. Also, I could shade smooth, right click, shade smooth. And then I duplicate that once, duplicate that again here. If I wanted to. And then, yeah, that's, you can keep playing around with adding like the physical components, like maybe a handle here. But this is the basics of adding a little cabinet. And you could do the same technique for if you were going to make shelves or any sort of drawers or anything for the kitchen. You would apply this similar technique. Now, for the bedding, well, that's the fun part. So, what we're going to do for the bed is we're going to go to the center. I'm going to add another cube. This cube, we're going to scale it approximately, for this one it might be nice to snap. You want it to be about like 9 feet, 8 feet long, or like 7 feet long and 6.5 feet wide. If you want to go like, I don't remember exactly the size of a queen bed or a king bed, but proportionally you could scale it properly if you really wanted to. Right now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make sure that my bed feels proportional to the space. I'm not being too picky. The other thing I'm going to do, once again, X-ray on, I'm going to go to the end of the bed. I'm going to add a little headboard at the end here. I'm going to extrude that up so I have a little headboard. Okay. Now, and you'll notice one thing that I do a lot is I spin around all the time. Like I'm always looking at the bottom, looking at the sides. Like here, one thing I didn't notice was like how low this was. It's cutting through, but I guess it's because the floor is so thin. It's fine, but if it was going way down, I might want to fix it. So you never know what might be hiding somewhere that you need to fix. And then someone inevitably will see it, and then you'll be very embarrassed if you didn't fix it. So always check your model. Now, I'm going to select, with face select mode, I'm going to select this face here. And then I'm going to right click, I'm going to choose inset faces. What that does is it kind of just goes in to create a frame for this. And then I'm going to press E, but I'm going to go down. So this is going to become our mattress. Then with this still selected, I'm going to press Shift D, and that creates a plane. I'm going to press P to separate it. So now this other object, if I'm in, and I have to go to object mode, this other object, cube 2, so this is cube 01, this is cube 2. This one is its own separate mesh. Then in edit mode for this object, I can extrude it up, and now I have a mattress inside, which is a separate object. That's the key. I want them to be two separate objects. You don't have to do it that way. You could just have, like, let's say, you could have just like added another cube and then moved it and then scaled it and then tried to like get it into position or whatever. But that's hard and it takes time. So I just press Shift D, press P, separate that selection from the rest, go to object mode, and then select this one. Now this is my mattress. So then maybe I'll organize it by calling it bedroom underscore mattress. And this one is bedroom underscore frame. And then from here, I select the mattress again, tab, select, extrude up, however tall the mattress. Some mattresses are super tall, so depends on what style you're going for. Now, to make it look more mattressy, what we're going to do is we're actually going to select all, and then we're going to right click and choose subdivide. We're going to choose 2 subdivisions, And then we're actually going to actually just do one more. Subdivide one more time. That should do it. Then we go to add modifier and we choose subdivision surface, and then we tap this to 2 or 3 depending on how dangerous you want to run your computer. I'll do 3, and then right click, shade smooth. So now we have a nice smooth mattress. And if you want that to be a bit more rectangular, what you can do with X-ray mode turned on, you box select, and I'm going to move these closer to the edges, like that. So what that does is it just kind of tells the deformation to be slightly less deformed and more close to a square. And that's usually what mattresses look like, but if you want your mattress to be more soft looking, you can change those. So that's our mattress, that's our bed frame, that's our thing, so our cabinet. So we're almost done, but we need the details of this are the tricky part. So how do we add the blanket, the pillows? Well, the pillows, similar deal to the actual mattress. I'm just going to add mesh cube. I'm going to call this bedroom pillow. And from there, I'm going to just scale it, scale it, scale it. So I do SX, SY, SZ. That's how I do it so fast. Then from here, I'm going to take I'm going to do the subdivision surface again, but I'm going to actually subdivide it once, just to give me that pillowy look. And then maybe one more time. No, I don't like that. We just tap this once. There we go. That's pretty good. And then shade smooth. But then I want the bottom to be flat. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to grab the bottom ones. And then take these. Maybe something like that. That looks okay. And like kind of an indentation in the middle of where someone's head was. Then I can scale it to the size I want and duplicate it. So I just have 2 of them. So there's my pillows. Not bad, eh? Now, to get really crazy, and this is because I just like having fun with you guys, I'm going to show you some other tricks. So how do we get the blanket? Okay, well, this is what we're going to do. Let's say I add a plane on here, okay? And it's above, and then I could just go here, and I could be like, okay, well, what the heck? How do I add this? Well, what do? Do I like take this and extrude down, and then take this, and extrude down, and then take this and extrude down, and then maybe do this, and then maybe do this, and then that kind of looks pretty derpy. So what do we do? Okay, is there another way? Well, yeah, Blender is super powerful, so we can use its powers. We can just go make it nice and big. About there. You could actually go a bit more. And then we're going to subdivide the heck out of this thing. We're going to go 10. No, that's not enough. More. There we go. That's a bit better. More. There. Just be careful. If you're following along, make sure you save. I don't know what your computer's got, so I don't want it to crash. Then, from there, we're going to go to something we haven't done before, which is the physics settings. We're going to choose cloth. And now, this is actually going to become cloth. I remember when I first started using Blender and cloth was just a thing. Like they just released it, and I was like blown away. And it took like ages to simulate cloth, but I was like, oh, this is so cool. Now it's like frigging real time cloth. It's insanely easy. So now it's just falling. Okay, yeah, okay, it's not that impressive yet. But just wait, just wait. Select the mattress. Okay, trust me on this. Select the mattress, choose collision. Select this, choose collision. Select this, choose collision. Select this pillow, choose collision. Okay, everything's going to be a collision object. Then select the mattress. For what it's worth, let's increase the stickiness of the mattress, and let's increase the friction of the mattress. We need the mattress to be sticky or else the blanket will fall off. I'm speaking from experience. I'm pretty sure this will work. I don't know exactly, but we'll try. Then we press play. Whoa! Oh, the blanket's falling off. Dang it. Okay, well, it's still not sticky enough. More sticky. And then let's see. Let's go back. And then let's make it a bit wider. Okay, is it gonna fall? It's still gonna fall. But we can just pretend that it's not falling by pressing spacebar and stopping the animation before it falls. And then no one will know. That's our secret. That the blanket is actually just like derping off of the. Anyway, we're gonna ignore that it's falling. We're gonna leave it like this. And then some other things, you know what we can do? You know that modifier we used at the very beginning to make the walls? We can actually just do it again. So we just do the solidify modifier again to make the blanket solid. And then we now have this beautiful blanket that follows physics. It's using the power of math to simulate this beautiful scene. And I could even like move this pillow like over this way and like rotate it a bit if I wanted it to feel a little bit more dynamic. See, look at that. Look at that. There we go. We get like that bulge of the pillow in that dynamic way. And that looks pretty nice. Now let's switch back to rendered. Okay. Okay. That looks nice. That looks pretty good. But it's all pure white. It feels like a hospital. So let's save and let's work on the colors. Okay, so mattress, it can stay white or maybe some sort of gray. But this should maybe change, this should change. So how did I do the blanket? The blanket was actually the maybe the coolest effect. Um, to do that, I added a material called blanket, and then let's start with just a red. And you could keep it to that. You'd be like, you know what, that's pretty good. And then make sure it's shaded smooth. That's not bad. And then you could also decrease your specular, increase your roughness, and then increase the specular tint, so that it like just is kind of a sheet. And you can call it a day. Like that's pretty good. If you want to get more serious, then what you can do is you can add, for base color, you add a noise texture. But then you might be like, well, that's kind of nice, buddy, but that's super weird pink colored rainbows. And I'm like, yeah, not really what we want, but trust me on this. This is going to look good. So we start with this. Then we go over to shading. And in here, there's something called a shading view. And we can change things in here. What we're going to do is we're actually going to add, so I'm going to press Shift A and add a color ramp. And in here, the color ramp is going to be between the noise texture and the shader. And then we change this color to the color we want, like a red color. Then we bring this out and bring this out to give it a little bit of this feeling of wrinkles. Then we decrease the detail a little bit, and we change the distortion, decrease the roughness, and play around with it until it's the way you want. So whatever style you're trying to go for. Detail. I think I ended up doing more, like I brought this down, so I just got a little bit of those wrinkles, and then I can change this color to be like a darker, maybe just like a darker red. So it's not like a complete wash. Then if we switch to this view, we end up getting like that feeling of a little bit of, we get a little bit of that shadowy feeling, a little bit of that wrinkly feeling from the bed. Now, this isn't by far the most realistic you could do. There's other ways to make this even more realistic, but it gives us a approximation of wrinkles, which I think is quite nice. So, that's the bed. Now, if you're like, you know what, I'm just going to keep that as red, then go ahead, keep it as red, and go back to here. But it gives us a nice look. Then, for the cabinet, you could always change that, and for this bed frame, we're going to add another material for that too. And I'm just going to go with like a, maybe like a dark gray. And why don't we keep the cabinets, let's make the cabinets the same. Just gives it a nice contrast. And then for these knobs, we could go with, or maybe we go with like a light, like a slightly green. Then for the knobs, we add a coppery color. I'm gonna go down, choose like a copper, and for this, we crank up that metallic. Maybe not quite that much. We crank up the specular tint, decrease the roughness. And then we add that to all of them. So then we get a nice looking handle. So that's quite nice. I'm going to call this like brass. Maybe a little bit more orange. Yeah, there we go. There we go. That's not bad. Now we have our bed. And the light that I made, I used this light source and then I moved it over and then I decreased the wattage, changed this to like a yellowish light. So that was the starting point. Then I actually created things around it. So you'll notice that, so if I select this and I go Shift S, I go cursor to selected. Then I go Shift A, and I choose cylinder. It adds a cylinder around this object. I'm going to right click, shade smooth, and then I'm going to select faces, delete that face, and that face. So now the light, and if I move this, now my light is actually being cast from the around the lampshade. And then you can play around with some settings to make it have like the feeling that it actually is bright. You can adjust the alpha, so you decrease this and you go to your blend mode and choose alpha blend. So then it actually gives you a transparent lampshade. And then the other thing I did is I added a bit of a subsurface color. So I added some subsurface settings to give it basically some feeling of absorbing light. It wasn't the best, but it kind of works. You could, another way to do it would be to give it some emission. So it itself casts light, but then it wouldn't be, I'm not sure if it would quite look the same that you want. Shadow mode, alpha hashed is what I did, so it cast like that pattern on the wall. But you could also just do alpha clip, or none for shadows if you really didn't want shadows. But opaque gives you that look. Backface culling is going to cut the back. It's not going to show the back, but we want to show the back in this case. I think I might turn alpha off because I like the solid color. I'm not sure. That looks good. Then from there I added a cylinder, no, not a sphere. Cylinder, scale that down. And I just go SZ, SZ. And then I added one more cylinder, SZ. And that's my ground. There we go. So I have my light. And if you want to make it so that they all move together, you just hold Shift, select, 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 then select the light itself, go Control P, parent to object. So then this all moves when I select the light. So if I move the light source around, let's say I want it in this corner, then there we go. And let's turn these off. So this is starting to look pretty nice. I think that the room is a little bit small, but aside from that, I'm pretty happy with it. So you can use these same techniques that you use to make the bed, you could use to make all the other things in the room. And if you wanted to like drape a blanket on something, you could use the same technique to drape blankets on like a chair or something like that. A tablecloth, anything like that, you could use the same technique. Just be careful because you don't want to overburden your computer. So depending on your machine, make sure you save regularly and don't have too many subdivisions on your sheet. Oh yeah, and if you edit it, you might need to recalculate. So then just go back to there, and now it's done. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you come back to learn more skills when I post another video. So good luck and happy blending.